appreciate you joining us, Grant. And we haven't spoken before, but I've
No.
seen your posts on Facebook,
Yeah.
and I see that you are material dyeing aficionado. I see you do a lot of that. So,
Yes.
and Alex had the idea to bring you on. You're actually our first guest on the podcast. So,
Well,
uh,
thank you ever so much.
yeah, so welcome and
You'll be the best guest we've ever had so far.
exactly. Yes, you're the best guest we've ever had.
Yeah.
No
Yeah.
matter what, you can't do bad.
Yeah.
And I know that you were from Nova Scotia originally, so maybe why don't you
Yes.
tell us a little bit about your kind of history and how you got into fishing and your journey to New Brunswick, if you don't mind.
Sure. No problem. Of course, my father was a commercial fly tyer many years ago, and he used to tie for Simpsons, Sears, Canadian Tire, Bob Bonus, Finney's Music Store on Barrington and Halifax.
Hmm.
And then, of course, before I started school, I used to help my father prepare some of the materials he did for tying. Namely, I would pluck a feather off a cape and splay out the barbules, put a notch in the butt, and then the peacock curl, I would take an eraser or a razor blade and strip the hurl. And I used to get a penny, a hurl, and a feather. So if I get 50 cents, I mean, at that time, you could buy a chocolate bar chip and
Are those prices still
chocolate
good
bar
today?
for a
Can I
quarter.
can I get those feathers for those prices today from you still?
Yeah, well, I do have some of my dad's old herders. A lot of people haven't heard of Herders company. It's defunct now, but I got matching pairs of feathers there, like six pairs for a quarter. Yeah,
That's awesome.
yeah. So we all of my brothers used to fly fish, and I used to always sit and watch my dad tie. So basically, I got into tying when I basically joined the military. And so you're talking, you know, back in the early 80s. And then, of course, in around 1989, my dad showed me how to dye materials with Vineyards dye. And I was posted outside Canada in Bangor, Maine with the military. And he showed me how to do that. So I've been basically been able to dye materials since then.
Okay. And when did you move to New Brunswick, Grant?
I moved to New Brunswick in 2014. I actually was up in Chatham, New Brunswick,
Okay.
and I figured, oh wow, it's going to be the best, for Atlantic salmon and fish and all that. But I
Hmm.
was about 12 years too late for that. And
Yeah.
then, yeah, and then the youngest daughter, she had a son, so we moved back to Moncton in 2018.
Okay, okay. Yeah, I know how you feel, Grant. I moved to Dopetown a couple years ago,
Mm,
and while, the trout fishing still is good, yeah, this year was a bit tough, but I kind of had that similar thing of like, okay, I'm here in salmon country, but I'm here 20 years too late.
yes,
Which is it's kind of a sad place to be. I still remain hopeful, and there's things on the horizon, but I definitely know what that feels like
sure.
to kind of have that expectation, and then the reality sort of hits a little bit.
Yeah. You know, it was the worst season I ever seen for fishing all across, like, for the rivers and stuff like that, and not just in Canada, like all over the globe.
Hmm.
Yeah, yeah. Hopefully next year it'll be a little bit better if we get some good snow during the winter and the runoff is not too fast.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wonder about that versus also, the consistent rain. I mean, we had a really good spring and we had water in the spring, but then it just wasn't sustained. And I mean, when I look online, people say it's a 50-year drought. So I'm hoping it's kind of a once in a generation thing. I hope it's not the norm.
Yes, I hope you're right in that regards. That's for sure.
Hmm. When you moved to Chatham, did you fish for stripers at all? Were people into striper fishing then?
There were people, into that, but basically I only fished in the fall for
Okay.
Atlantic salmon and a bit for some sea trout. I was successful there. I caught them.
Hmm.
Actually, one of my favorite dry flies was a Quill Gordon for the sea
Okay.
trout.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I like those. I don't know if Quill Gordon specifically, but I like those similar profile. When I go to the fly tying shop, sometimes they're just called kind of mosquito flies,
Oh
or
yes,
they're or
yeah,
they're kind of in that category. That's
yeah.
that's definitely one of my favorite for sea run trout.
Mm, yeah,
Although these days I tend to like something that's a little more buoyant.
yeah.
I really
Yeah,
like,
I mean,
yeah.
bugs work. Tiny bugs work good as well. Like, sea trout love them too.
Hmm.
You could do a little green machine or even a white bug with orange hackle through it. And I put a little bit of gold tag on it. Yeah,
Yeah, actually, when I moved here and I started showing up at the rivers in the spring and kind of asking people about, what they use to fish, and again, I'm in the Doketown area, I really got a lot of consistent use bombers for sea trout early. Use bombers with
yeah.
specifically orange hackle and white head and tail, and I have to say it really is effective.
Yes, I do like bombers and that sort of thing there. I mean, they're great. I like sometimes to tie them with the splay wing like they do use in
Hmm.
Quebec, but I mean, either or, they're both a very effective fly, especially when the water temperature's just right.
Yeah, and even this year, someone caught a salmon on a bomber like end of April, early May, something like that.
Mm,
So
yeah.
that's kind of encouraging too, right?
Yes, I've actually seen in October down in the Margaree, a fella
Hmm.
caught a salmon with a bomber. He was, fishing one particular spot with a wet fly, and he got tired of that, chucked on a bomber. The next thing you know, you hear, and the salmon sucked the fly right in.
Oh wow. Oh man.
Yeah,
Those are the moments, and I was saying this to my buddies the other day. There's something that's so special about salmon fishing, and I think where the population's so low that if I even see a salmon or I'm beside someone that catches a salmon, that it's almost like I still get excited about that.
I'm the same way too. I always say tackle rich, fish poor.
Hmm.
But you never forget your first hookup with a salmon, and to be on the water and see fish, see people catch fish. I mean, that's very rewarding as well. But obviously, you like to hook into one yourself. But
Yes.
that's the
Yes.
lure. That's the lure of salmon fishing, though.
Yeah, exactly. I'm kind of just getting into salmon fishing. I mostly fish for trout, and
Nice,
so I've only hooked a couple or a few salmon, and so probably like five, I would say at this point. So for me, everyone is still like incredibly exciting.
wonderful. Yeah,
Hmm.
The words of Michael Brisland, you want to catch more fish, fish more bugs.
Ah, I like
yeah, they do
that.
work. They do
Yeah.
work.
Yeah, Michael Brisland was a fly caster and tire from the St. John River. He's got a book. It's a really good book. It's called
Okay.
Bugging the Atlantic Salmon.
Oh yeah. Hmm.
Yeah,
Yeah, awesome. And that was his. It's like you want to catch more fish, fish more bugs. But he even goes through like his whole storyline of how he was a big like anti-bug, like a bug was a poor man's, and then he went to the big Restigouche River and the water was low and they weren't taking anything. And it wasn't until the guide gave him a like number 10 brown fairy, said fish this and whatever. He caught his first fish on the Restigouche in those conditions. The bugs, I don't know what it is. I've heard some theories from some of the other guides. There's a guide people might know from the Northwest, Ricky Harris on the South Miramichi.
Hmm.
His kind of theory is that when a salmon or a par or even a trout, when they're spending those first 2 years of their life cycle in the river, they're feeding primarily on
Hmm.
bugs, so
Hmm.
that when those salmon come back, they have that instinct. So that's just one theory as to why green machines and bugs work so well for the Atlantic salmon.
Yeah.
because the bomber is something that's very specific to like our geographic
It
location. Like
is.
the
Yeah.
bomber originated, like you're in bomber country, like
Yeah.
Doketown area.
Yeah.
Father Elmer Smith,
Yeah. And he was St. John River as well.
was he? Okay, but
Yeah.
he was
Hmm.
he. Do you know the story, Grant, of how the bomber
Well,
was?
it was like almost like a skater fly at first.
Mm.
Yep.
Yeah, yeah, and then of course they modified it, years after that. But basically that was clipped deer here, and it was not really tightly packed at all. Like
Uh,
Almost like a
you got,
Carter's bug.
yeah, like pre-Carter bug, and it was very effective.
Hmm.
Yeah, Joseph Bates makes reference to the Reverend there on the fly as well in the Joseph Bates Atlantic salmon flies.
Yep. Okay, I haven't
Yeah,
read that
yeah,
one.
yeah.
The I think it was Brisland's book there, Bugging the Atlantic Salmon. He told the story about Father Smith. He was fishing a run. I want to say it was the Forks pool, maybe, but I always get him and George Frederick Clark confused when it comes to stories up there.
mm.
But he was fishing it, and whatever the fish weren't taking, but they were rising, and he was smoking a cigarette, and he flicked his cigarette butt into the water, and the cigarette butt was floating down the river, and the salmon came up and grabbed it. So his initial fly was actually to represent a cigarette butt. Like he tied it with a little bit of yellow in the back and then brown and then a
Yeah.
little bit of the whites. That was the story. That's the story. I can grab his books right there. I think that was Brisland's story that he told. So I think
Yeah.
there's some variations to that, but
Yeah.
that's the story that I know of how the bomber was, how the concept and the idea was created. Because it's not, those bombers aren't big in the UK where Atlantic salmon started, right?
No, no, they're
You
more
toss a
like,
bomber out there and they're going to go,
yeah.
ugh. Well, I don't
Yeah,
know if they
well,
use them now or not, but completely different fishery, I guess.
yeah, they're more into like spay flies and
Hmm.
namely the last few years into tube flies.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Big time. Yeah. Ian, you and I both know Ian Parker there.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's a big tube fly guy. And
Yeah.
Seaver has another friend there. Why is his name escaping me right now? Who's your buddy from the UK?
Oh, Dan Quinn.
Yeah. Dan Quinn. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, he's great. He's a great guide. Yeah, the two flies, I didn't really experiment a lot with two flies this season. I kind of really just kind of learned that was something that was possible. Um,
Technically speaking, you already are playing around with the concept of a tube fly when you're using
mm,
when you're using any fly tied on a hook shank with a trailer,
Yes.
you're essentially fishing a fly like a tube fly.
Well, I can
right.
definitely say tube flies are very effective fly because I mean Ian has a fly there. He calls it the IP there, and it
The
works.
IP.
I can attest to
Okay.
that. Yeah.
Yeah, Ian's going to be one of the guest speakers at the boat show this year, and he's going to be doing tube flies, I believe. I haven't confirmed that with him. I was just talking to Jacques about it. But Ian's very, very knowledgeable with salmon and with these tube flies. He's become, I would say, he's borderline obsessed with tube flies.
Mm,
But what I would say is that because he swears that like the tube flies, you have to fish it with a dead straight line. And if you're not
mm.
fishing a tube fly with a dead straight tight line, it's not going to be presented effectively, so on and so forth. I bet you I could still produce with a number 10 green machine in those conditions. So my challenge to Ian will be okay. I haven't gone down the tube fly route yet, just because it's a little extra equipment and hardware I need to add
Hmm.
to the
Yeah.
bike. But I would put that toe to toe. Like, you know what I mean?
I have a
What's
thought
really
too.
better? The number 10 green machine or the tube fly? I'd still, my money, I would if I was a betting man, I'd still be putting my money on that number 10 green machine.
In the Restigouche,
Yep.
they fish very large flies typically
Yep.
to get the fly down. Well, tube flies are very effective for getting, subsurface as well. Like, if you have an intermediate line
Hmm.
and that gets the fly down, and you're not really going to be foul hooking, but it does keep the fly at a good level. So you don't have to have such a big fly to fish the rest of goose. But I haven't seen too many people fishing tube flies on the rest of goose, but I know Some people recently have been starting to do that.
Hmm.
I want to say you guys probably saw Chris Sinclair's big salmon there this spring.
Yes. Yeah.
That was caught on a tube fly.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it was if Chris is listening right now, he's probably yelling. I think it was a sunset shadow.
Could have been. Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know. I can't remember. I was looking at the
Or
picture.
sunray. Yeah. Yeah.
So
Yeah,
yeah, maybe
that
that was
Yeah.
good. But it was I think it was a tube fly that he hooked
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
salmon on. And those fish, like that's I don't know the measurements on it, but that was over a 30-pound fish. And like
mm,
Yeah.
that's why people travel to the rest of Gush in
yeah.
late May and early June is to get after not just 30 pounders, but those 40 pounders. And they're
Hmm.
those traveling fish, like I've seen them on the Miramichi. I've had them swim 3 feet away from my feet, and that was only a 15-pound salmon. Like
Hmm.
swim
Yeah.
underneath of my line. So seeing that a tube fly can work on a fish like that, it's so I take note of little things throughout the season, and
Yeah.
as I see stuff like that, I'm remembering it for the fly tying season. So the tube flies isn't lost to me yet, but did somebody
I'll
fish a
be
number 10 green machine first?
I'll be tying some up. I get all the materials for that, and thanks to Frauden.
Yeah, you've
Yeah.
been stocking
Yeah.
up quite a bit to tie tube flies
Yeah.
in.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I've
Quite
never even seen someone fish the tube fly, so it's quite foreign to me. And sorry, when you were mentioning who was using it, when you said Dan, I thought you were referring to something else. And the sort of style fly that he ties, he just calls it a rabbit strip, but it's pretty much the exact same presentation.
Yep,
But he'll use a real thick piece of mono to attach like a shank to a hook, basically. And
yep.
so, really nice swimming action. And I could see how that would be an attractive sort of type of fly to use where you get that really big profile and presentation without it being so incredibly heavy.
Yep.
I
Yeah.
think that's what the thing is with two flies is the
Hmm.
profile that it's important because do salmon really see a lot of colors? They might see a contrast in light and dark, you know, but people use chartreuse and all this kind of stuff. I mean, that's very effective too. So yeah,
Hmm.
yeah,
I'm a big believer in chartreuse. I mean, it's not a big that's not a big bold statement to say I like using chartreuse, of course.
yeah,
But it
yeah,
was
I
really
have a
yeah, go ahead.
Sorry. I was just say Grant has a friggin' shade of yellow
Ah.
that I actually like more than chartreuse. And that's a
Hmm.
heavy, heavy statement. But
Hmm.
there, what is it? Is it sunburst yellow?
yeah,
It's the fluorescent
yeah,
one. Man,
yeah,
that sunburst
yeah,
yellow is
yeah,
it basically looks those yellow and chartreuse are so close on the scale.
Hmm.
yeah,
But that sunburst yellow dye, that shade, man,
yeah.
that's a favorite of mine. I have 3 or 4 flies that I tie with
Yeah.
it.
Yeah, and the thing is with chartreuse, I mean, there's three companies that make, and it's all three different
All three of them are different.
shades of chartreuse. Like if you take Dharma,
Yep.
Jacquards, and Vineyards, all three are different.
Hmm.
Jacquards is really, really like if you're colorblind,
Yeah,
Jacquards you would think is yellow.
I'm
If you
that's
I'm
right.
Jacquard,
colorblind, and I
all
do.
right,
I
okay,
always
yeah,
get them mixed up.
yeah. My favorite dye company is Menards. Um,
Yeah,
that's the first company I started using their dye. I just find that anytime I use those dyes, man, does the material take it well. Like every time
yeah.
I dye with Menards dye, I'm just, man, that's nice stuff.
I like about three or four of their colors because it's very true. Like, you take the true colors, like their yellow. I like their hot orange. I like their chartreuse. I like their light Cambridge blue dye.
Mhm.
Dark claret is nice. Yeah. But
That's a
again, yeah,
I was just gonna say, and I'm glad we started talking about the dyeing because obviously that's something that you do. And I'd like to kind of have a little bit of a walkthrough of what that process is like because I have no clue sort of how that goes, what material you use, etc. Can you kind of give us a little walkthrough on how you
sure.
approach dyeing?
Yeah. I always pre-soak my materials, degrease it. Most of the time I just use Dawn, but I do have
Hmm.
Vineyards Ven Paul. Um, Duck feathers and that are a little bit more greasier, but deer hair, I mean, it depends whether you're using the white belly, whether it's been bleached or not, or just natural. But so I still pre-soak those and Dawn, give it a good rinse, and then I'm never weak on the dye. I always put a whack of dye into the dyeing pot, and I like to make a paste with the dry acid dye first. Add some boiling water, stir it around, just like you're having a hot chocolate,
Hmm.
and then you just add some water, and then you get your water boiling temperature, and then you just add the dye in there, and then a lot of people will use a thermometer, but a lot of times I can just I use gloves, of course, and you should use a respirator because it's caustic acid dye.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and I just basically just put my fingertips in the water, and if it's too hot like that, then maybe I turn it down just a little simmer. And some dyes you really have to have a higher heat and leave the in the pot a little bit longer than with acid dye. I always use vinegar to set the dye,
Hmm.
and it you could have a bag of say natural or white belly deer here, and it's not necessarily from the same deer, so that might be in the same pot, and some pieces will take the dye a little bit differently. So I try to make it, all the way down to the pelt, but when you're trimming bombers or bugs, you snip it off. So you could cut a piece off if it's showing a little bit. But no, that's basically what I do.
And then do
Yeah,
you just air dry it after, or?
yeah, I air dry it. I go to Dollarama and they have these little closed things. They're circular and have
Oh,
the
yeah.
yeah, and then I have a fan from Costco, and I just have that blown around and it circles around. If the weather's good outside, I'll hang it outside. The thing is, when you dye any materials and that, you periodically got to check because if moisture gets in, then you can end up with mold on it, right? And then
Uh,
once a piece gets moldy, it disintegrates. You may as well chuck it away.
right.
Yeah,
Otherwise, it'll get everything else moldy, I imagine.
yeah, yeah. Well, I always package up my dye or not dye, but my materials that I dye, like
Hmm.
especially here, you can get the little sleeves at Great Canadian Dollar Store or whatever, and put it in there. And I know how much each envelope weighs as far as grams I weigh, and just mark it on the package. Yeah.
Where do you get your dyes? Like from Michael's or Amazon or something? Or
Uh, Mostly I get my dye directly from Dharma. It's in
oh, okay.
California.
Oh,
Yeah.
cool.
And I haven't done any with since the new election in the States, but because I there is a tariff on that now.
Oh, darn.
Yeah, so shipping can be quite expensive.
Right.
I just looked like say to get two-ounce tubs of dye, it's like the dye itself is fairly cheap. It's all in US dollars, but the shipping's like $22 US.
Right. Right.
Mm.
Yeah. And vineyards, well, you can either get it directly from the UK or a lot of shops sell it. I mean, 15-gram tube dye can dye quite a bit of material. And then Jacquard's the same thing. I get it from Dharma, or sometimes I'll go on Amazon and get the 8-ounce jar.
Hmm.
And but dye is fairly expensive when you think about it. Um and you
This is
don't
leading in
get
so perfectly to something I was going to talk about.
yeah.
Hmm.
And you can't yeah, it's crazy because you don't get rich on dime, but I enjoy doing it.
You dye for a couple companies too, like tying shops there, Grant.
I have, yeah, in the past, yeah.
Yeah, like Grant,
Yeah.
I started dyeing. Oh, it was probably I don't know 4 or 5 years ago now.
Yeah.
And when I started reaching out, like I started doing it, you can't find this information online. Like it is very tricky to find it online now. And that somebody put
Yeah.
some YouTube videos out there, so it's a little easier for folks. But
Yeah.
I got a lot of my information from Grant. Like the amount of time you've probably spent with
Mhm.
other people as well, teaching them. I can
Oh,
only imagine.
I get
I
lots of questions.
Yeah, I personally just wanted to say thank you for the resource that you provide to other people because it's I wouldn't be able to dye anything. I only dye for my own personal use. I dye what I
Yeah,
need to dye, sort of thing. But yeah, even just listening and talking to you on your process, I've learned, quite a few things. You and I talk a lot, obviously. So, but you
yes,
and I basically do the process the same way now. I mean,
yeah.
and you also do, I think, was it last year or the year before, you did a demonstration at the Dieppe Fly Tying Club?
That's right. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah,
And we should probably talk about the club a little bit too, eh?
yeah,
Yeah, so I'm a member of the club, but Grant is a long timer member.
yeah, yeah. I when I first came to Moncton, 2018, I joined the Fly Tying Club. Yeah,
Cool.
yeah,
And so what is, I guess I know, but just for the viewers and stuff, like what is the club? What is it about? You guys have a meeting? Who, what,
yeah,
when, where?
yeah. Basically, it's a nonprofit organization. It doesn't cost anyone to join, and we promote fly tying as well as fly fishing, and that's what it's all about. We usually meet. This year it's going to be on Tuesday nights between 6 and 8 o'clock at night at the Dieppe Rotary Club in the main building. Before we had the Scouts building, but due to
Oh, they're
high volume
upgrading.
of Scouts this year, we had to
Ah,
change venues. Yeah, Jock was
uh,
very happy about being able to secure a place for us.
yeah, that's good. That's good.
Yeah, yeah.
Have you been over to the new spot yet?
I haven't been inside yet, but
Oh, that's okay.
I've been there like with the grandchildren during the summertime, like at the splash pads.
And when is it I got my email here. I think it's the 28th is our first official club
Yes,
meet.
yeah,
Is it
the
the
28th,
28th? Yes.
28th, yeah, and then the
October
fall.
28th, sorry, I should say.
That's right, yeah, and then the following week, it's there's none available. Then we're going to continue on with the regular tying, and then the big thing is in November. I think it's 18th of November.
Yep,
If
it is. I got
people
the list here.
if people want to come in and sell some wares, trade, or
Oh,
whatever,
cool.
you can do that. Yeah,
Yeah, I
great.
missed that last year, so I'm available. The only thing
Yeah.
with the 28th of October is that's the opening day of deer hunting season.
Yes. Yeah.
Bang bang. Um,
Yeah.
Mm.
I should be there. I should be there.
Yeah.
Mm.
It all depends on what I'm doing for work. But so the 18th is the yard sale. So swap trades,
Yeah.
exchange, or sales of used fly tying and fly tying equipments, tables
Yeah.
available, and regular tying that night as well. So that's November
Yeah.
the 8th.
Yeah. It's a good chance for people to get out and you don't have to pay the big dollars that you pay at the shops, and plus,
Hmm.
the pay for shipping,
Mhm.
because that's the killer today is the shipping and plus
Yeah.
the taxes, right?
And like right now too, it's cool because you can also like if you've got like myself and you as well, we have
Yeah.
extra material, so we can bring some stuff to it and we can actually trade some material. I
Oh,
know
absolutely.
I know I've been teasing some people with my bucktails, and I know for sure I'm going to make sure there's like 6 or 7 that I bring to the trade.
Oh, yeah.
So the trade's really cool. That's
Yeah.
I
That's a
missed
cool
I missed it.
idea.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's really good. It's so that just people get it. It is November the 18th. The Fly Tying Club.
That's
It's
awesome.
yeah, pretty
Yeah.
cool. It's free to join. Free to be there. Yeah.
Because when
Yeah.
you tie flies, you always, at least I did, you always tend to buy a lot more than you need when you're first starting. And when you're first starting, you don't even really know what you need, right? So you just kind of buy all this different stuff. So
Yeah.
inevitably, everybody that ties flies has a bunch of leftover material.
Mhm.
I call it tackle rich, fish poor.
Ah, yes.
I know the title of this video.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, that's cool. So yeah, that's the club, and I guess, and then yeah, there's a bunch of other stuff. There's a Facebook group and a website for the club. So if anybody wants to check out the club, that's your information source.
That's awesome. That's a great resource for people to have because fly fishing is the kind of thing that And these days, obviously, there's a lot more information online and you can learn a lot online, but it's hard to learn specific things. And if you don't have like a mentor, someone to talk to, it can be a little bit difficult to understand the nuances of things.
Yes, and I've been tying for a while, same with Alex too,
Hmm.
and you observe people tying and you always learn something. Oh, I learned something new. There's always
Yep.
something new about fly tying.
Yep.
Hmm.
It's the coolest thing about it. Seaver touched on this a little bit, and one of the things he enjoys about fly fishing and living in the Doketown area is the camaraderie. Wait, let me get this. Camaraderie? Damn it!
Camrad,
Big words. The
camaraderie.
camaraderie. I don't know. I'm just gonna right by that one. Anyways, it's that feeling of connectivity. And a quote that I stole and that I use all the time from Alan Kay, which is there's actually a backstory to that. Ask Alan where he got this quote from. But
Mm,
to tie a fly is the extension of one's cast. It is
mm,
so true. Like there, I talk about it. I post online this the fly tying season. Like
hmm,
our fishing season here for some folks listening from abroad is April 15th until October 15th for the Atlantic salmon to the
hmm,
31st of October for striped bass. But basically for 6 months, us folks here in New Brunswick, we're not going to get to fish at all.
hmm.
So like that spirit of fly fishing to me, it's continued on through the tying clubs. And then one other thing that I like to note on these tying clubs is that as anglers, we always want to help the river, right? We always want
Mm-hmm.
to do our part and so on and so forth. We're not biologists, we're not conservationists. There's only so many projects and so on and so forth that you can do. When you're going to these clubs, that's where all the anglers are really meeting up. So,
Mm-hmm.
for example, the Dieppe Fly Tying Club is an affiliate of the New Brunswick Salmon Council. So
Oh,
they
cool.
actually go to those meetings and you can get up to date information. You can meet contacts. Like I could go on and on and on and on about why everybody needs to go to the fly tying club, but
Mm-hmm.
I'm just pointing out some of the facts on it. That's the great thing about fly tying clubs is that you'll learn a lot. You'll meet more people. If your club accepts a donation, they're probably a charitable status, so they probably make a donation to some of these bigger groups that are on the river. And then as a side note, the old guys really liked. No, I'm just kidding. Some of the folks like to talk a lot more in the off season. So
Mm-hmm.
if you want to get new spots and you want
Right.
to get new flies, when some of the folks that have been going to these clubs see that you go a couple times, you don't just go once a year, you're kind
Mm-hmm.
of a regular within the community, you'll start to get more fishing spots, you'll start to learn new fly
Mm-hmm.
patterns. There's a little bit of a secrecy to fly fishing that we don't want to lose, and you kind of
Yeah.
is the saying you got to be in the club to know too far. There's a lot of cool stuff that you'll learn, a lot of secrets to the rivers and a lot of secrets to the flies. Like I've got flies that I wouldn't show people in a million years.
What?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you'll notice if you're ever fishing with me, my fly bag and my fly box is never not with me.
That's funny.
It's on my body at all times.
Yeah.
My buddy Ray McDougall taught me that one.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, Ray, and it's just all jokes. At the end of the day, it's not too serious, but it's fun to play into it and so on and so forth. That's why I love going to the club, joking around with the guys, the girls, everybody else, and teaching new people.
Yeah, that's what it's all about, Alex.
Yeah, and I find it's like I think the perfect analogy to that is it's like when you're on a stretch of river and you start talking to someone who's fishing, whether it's someone you know or it's a stranger and you just run into them. I'll never share more information with someone than if we're fishing a stretch of river together. There's a camaraderie there. There's
How is it so
your
easy to
kindred
see?
spirits when anyone, I've never met a person that fly fishes that I don't like because we're kindred spirits in some way. And when we're on a stretch of river together, that's the time that I feel comfortable opening up and sharing things, especially if it's about the system that we're on. Because it's like we're already there. Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, that's funny.
Wait,
Henry Winkler. Yeah,
if you haven't read this book, you need to.
that's awesome.
Uh,
Yeah,
yeah,
good book.
I always even share some of my flies when I go to the rivers, because
Same.
I tie different patterns than other people tie, and
Mhm.
sometimes they reciprocate, which is that's what it's all about.
Yeah, exactly. Like, and one type of fly tying and fly fishing that I personally really love that isn't done like a whole heck of a lot is mouse patterns and
Oh
big
yeah,
mouse flies, kind of popping them on the surface and stuff like that. So inevitably, when I'm on the water, I'll half of the time at least, I'll run into people that either aren't really that familiar with that style of trout fishing or they've heard about it or whatever, and I'm pretty quick to give someone one of my mouse flies and just kind of quickly describe how to do it, just because specifically with that style of fishing, there's like the way an aggressive trout reacts to a mouse on the surface is such a gigantic bit of movement. It's such a crazy grab that I think everyone has to experience that once.
you use that mostly like for brown trout or
No, for brook
speckled.
trout. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, yeah,
Yeah, exactly. Just because, well, simply because around here, brook trout are what there are.
yeah.
And but I know for sure people that do fish for browns, like in the St. John area, in the south and stuff like that. A lot of them either use rapalas that are like they're skating on top of the water, or they'll use something big and meaty like a mouse as well. So.
Mm, yeah.
Mhm. Yeah,
Big meaty.
brook trout's my bag for sure. I don't have a whole lot of experience fishing other species of trout. I wish we had more rainbows in the province,
Yeah.
and browns. That'd be nice. I don't know if you've ever fished at all around above the dam, like some of the upper St. John River tributaries. Have you ever fished around there or heard about the rainbow populations there?
No, I've never fished there, but no, no, never heard of it. No.
Yeah, well, I mean, there still are rainbows in the tributaries, especially, but they used to be a little more common that you'd catch them. But I know at one point there was a hatchery, I think in the Florenceville, Bristol area, and or it was a private entity. I'm not really sure exactly, but there were some rainbow trout escapees that went on to kind of establish a bit of a population. And now they're kind of filling the niche that the Atlantic salmon left, where they're really using the tributaries of the Upper St. John River to spawn, and kind of the same sort of movement and locations where the Atlantic salmon fishing used to be, incredible. And, ever since the dam is almost non-existent sort of thing.
My first rainbow trout I ever caught was with a gray ghost pattern, Rumsey Lake in Nova Scotia.
Okay.
Mm. And it's deep enough that they do reproduce there. You
Okay.
know, yeah. And when you're talking earlier about a mosquito, dry fly was a very effective fly there as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd imagine. And they stock rainbows and browns in Nova Scotia, don't they?
Yes. Yeah, they do some places. Yeah. Hmm.
There was a couple brown trout that were caught on the Miramichi, supposedly
Oh,
this year.
that's right. I saw a
These,
picture. I don't know, Grant, if you
I
saw the
saw this.
Facebook post.
Yeah.
I saw
Yeah.
that picture. That was a
Did you
brown
see it,
trout.
Grant?
Yes.
It was a giant.
Yeah. Were they saying was it a salmon or a trout? Is
Brown
that the
trout.
one you
Well,
got?
yeah,
To
Yeah.
me, it was the adipostal fin on the back. It
it
was
Yes.
was for sure a
orange.
brown. It was
Yeah,
for
it
sure a
was
brown.
Yeah.
because the browns and Atlantics, like for some folks, they can really, really. It comes down to the jaw line.
Yeah,
Um, it's on an Atlantic salmon, the jaw line extends past the eye,
Yeah.
exactly.
and on a trout, it does not. But it's so hard to tell from a photo on that. So
Yeah.
I always go for the adipostal fin. On a brown
Mm-hmm.
trout, the adipostal fin is supposed to be orange with dots on it.
Mm-hmm.
That photo of that one, it was orange and had dots on that
I was gonna
adipose.
Mm.
say that brown was quite buttery and yellow, and some of them are more silver, and so I could tell right away that was a brown.
It's yeah, it's tricky. Colors is like, man, I've caught some freaky looking friggin' fish on their noose. Like I've caught salmon on the Renoose that are like half colored, like half black and half chrome. Like you're,
They weren't glowing in the dark, were they?
I might have been floating down the river later on.
I know there's a couple of rivers in Nova Scotia that have pretty good browns, like Oxford, River Phillip, the Wallace
Hmm.
River have browns. They're quite big. Yeah,
Brown trout is not something I've ever caught.
Oh,
I've caught
cool.
I've caught rainbows. There's a
Yeah.
private lake off the Shepardy Road there,
Right.
Alma Country.
Hmm.
I've caught a rainbow there on a black muddler.
Hmm.
But yeah, I've never touched a brown, and I jokingly said it in one of our first episodes before the season opened, like the Atlantic salmon are gone, just start going on the brown trout. Somebody sent me a message with a photo of this fish that was caught in the spring.
Yeah.
I heard two, just within season opener.
yeah,
One no picture, but very well known person and
Hmm.
guide. I trust his opinion. That guy's caught more salmon on the Little Southwest than anybody else that I really know, probably. So
Hmm.
for him to say it was a brown, and then I saw the photo of one. So my buddy was like, the guy who sent me the thing was like, yeah, you've been pretty busy, eh? I was, damn it, man, it's not me. They're gonna hang me here if the brown trout keep showing up.
yeah.
I'm still waiting for ASF and their pink salmon to show up.
Right, right, right.
The pink salmon invasion that's supposed to happen.
Right,
Yeah,
I remember hearing about that. And Grant, since you fished a bit in Nova Scotia, maybe you've got a good perspective on this. But
yeah.
is is our stocking program, whatever program there is, are we in New Brunswick stocking fish in the best way? It seems like every single other place I see people fishing, the stocked fish are bigger than the average fish anyone catches here. Like, I don't know what's going on with the stocking program. I know there was a collapse of it in New Brunswick essentially, but do
Yeah.
you have that perspective of New Brunswick versus elsewhere, how we sort of stack up in terms of what we do for stocking?
Well, I mean, they're trying to the heritage the Margarita heritage salmon there. They have the hatchery pool there and that sort of thing,
Hmm.
and you know uh, they're trying their best to introduce good healthy stocks into the rivers and stuff like that.
Hmm.
But yeah, I can't really say if it's any better or not because. I guess I haven't been following the trend of returns and stuff like that, right?
Gotcha, gotcha. Well,
Yeah,
I see, especially with trout and rainbow trout. I look
yeah,
at people fishing in the States, and they're holding up a picture of a stocked rainbow trout, and
yeah,
it's like a 5 to 10 pound fish. It's an amazing trout. Like if our brook trout, it's so rare to get a brook trout in that size range, and they just naturally don't really get up to that size range, of course. But it seems like we're woefully inadequate in our trout stocking. That's been my
Well, you're
I
observation.
don't think
like
we
you're
we used to stock trout.
Hmm.
Like
yes,
I talked to one of the biologists that was on the Salmon Council.
Hmm.
The Nipisiguit River, they netted pools above where the dam is on the Nipisiguit,
Hmm.
and they collected brood stock from the brook trout there. They
Yeah.
got 8 pound brook trout for the brood
Yeah.
stock for stocking in there, and they
Yeah.
yeah,
and that was like the 80s and 90s, but they did stock. Like they had a complaint from a bunch of the
Hmm.
lodge owners that said, hey, because there's lodges above the dam, the dam's here, there's no fishing, we need fish. So they went in and they stocked. And that was, I don't know if the Peninsula doesn't have a hatchery anymore. I think they're trying to get one, but that was probably done through eel ground, or not eel grounds, the South Esk, Miramichi hatchery. It's probably where they were spawned.
Yeah,
I
And that's
know
and
all, that's only our real big spawning incentive
okay.
on the Miramichi River is the
yeah,
MSA, the Miramichi Salmon Association, and the hatchery.
yeah,
Uh, Restigouche has one in the Chaleur, Big Chaleur. They have a hatchery there. There is a big, massive hatchery at the Mactaquac Dam.
Yeah, exactly.
yeah,
They have every single salmon there apparently. Like every fish from every tributary on the St. John River.
Hmm.
They have like a male and female of each one to collect all the it's called gene banking or something like
Right.
that.
mm,
The genetics alive. And with stocking, it's it's hard. There's
Yeah.
so much information out there. I try to dig through it a lot. There's been programs that got shut down. The most recent one was the SAS, the SAS program, where they actually took smolts out of the river, or they raised them to adults, and they were going to release a bunch of adult salmon into the Miramichi, but nothing got approved, and it all got shut down.
Have you guys looked at one of the films that Hookaye put on their site
The
about
wild
Atlantic?
salmon
Yeah,
thing, that's
yeah,
where I get confused.
yeah. Because there's a lot of rivers in, say New England states that they've introduced Atlantic salmon into.
Hmm.
Originally, I caught my first Atlantic salmon in the Penobscot River in
Oh,
Maine.
cool. Hmm.
Yep.
Yeah,
That's a
and
river the ASF has been working on a lot. They've been removing
yeah,
dam structures on it, and
yeah,
then so it's there. I don't know why they don't want to support it. Maybe they do. I don't know. It
yeah,
seems like ASF's latest marketing campaign has been wild fish, wild rivers,
yeah,
and teamed up with Hook A. I
Hmm.
don't
yeah,
necessarily understand what that means. Like, if are
yeah.
we raising wild rivers to not have any fish? Are we raising? I don't know. It's a hard. What does wild rivers, wild salmon mean if there's no salmon left to begin with? We can
Hmm.
Well,
make
this
the
is it.
rivers wild. Is their
Yeah,
concept? We're gonna make the rivers perfect, and the salmon are just gonna magically come back on their own. Is it a whim? Is it a wood? Like, I think at some point there has to be a line drawn in the sand where they're gonna have to go. We need to go ahead and push through with an incentive of a huge stocking program, because
well,
where
yeah,
they're
because
at now, it's
yeah,
New
when you're
Brunswick's.
talking.
There's nothing left.
when you're talking, off of Greenland and all that, there's sort
Hmm.
of moratorium on not taking salmon, but there's still tons of salmon being taken,
Hmm.
and of course, our weather, patterns have been changing, so that affects the water temperatures. The salmon are sort of migrating. Like, look at, for instance, stripers. I mean, I know stripers were introduced to a lot of different rivers, but, you know, they're trying to, you know, restock and all that sort of things. But hopefully, say our grandchildren or whatever might have a chance to be able to catch an Atlantic salmon.
Yep, it seems to be environmental and predation are the two
Hmm.
biggest
Yeah,
things. So if we can take care of the headwaters, we can take care of the backcountry.
yeah,
Hmm.
That would take care of the rivers. After that, it comes down to predation. Do you want to blame the striped bass?
Or the
Yay, nay.
seals.
Then you go into seals. Then you go into
Hmm.
everything else. Then they go into
Hmm.
their journey over to Greenland,
yeah.
so on and so forth. So what can we do here? I think we should be stocking. Now,
Hmm.
there is a magical mathematical equation out there called the Elson norm,
Hmm.
and it goes from egg deposition, so the amount of eggs that are laid, to how many adults would actually return. There's a
Right,
bunch of
right, right.
different factors in there. There's an actual equation. But
Hmm.
anyways, I got off talking about that. The Elson norm is how many fish a salmon, how many salmon need to be in a river for there to be what's called salmon escapement.
Hmm.
Yeah.
So for there to be enough salmon leaving the river for the river to have a healthy population, there needs to be 75% of the schmaltz making it out to just the ocean for the get
Hmm.
two of those adults back is their numbers.
Jeez. Oh my
So
God.
right now with our predation, we don't have the numbers on seals, I don't think,
Hmm.
but they've focused
No.
heavily on the numbers with striped bass.
Exactly. Yeah.
And that's where they're putting that smolt migration number, they're putting it between 0 and 3%.
Hmm.
But this year we had a huge return in grills, so there's missing data. There's
Hmm.
missing data somewhere. It shouldn't make sense. Like, there was like a
Yeah.
5-year timeline on the Miramichi, specifically the Northwest. It was two
And
years ago.
how many adults, salmon were?
Exactly. I was fishing Coreyville, and I haven't seen Coreyville alive like I did before Thanksgiving in a few years. Like, there was
Yeah.
some big fish moving through.
Yeah, that's what I heard. Yeah.
So I don't know if you can directly blame the predation. What I look at it is, there is a mathematical equation. You can look at the square kilometers for the Miramichi watershed in a whole. You can look at
Hmm.
the egg deposition, how many eggs would make it, how many eggs would fail, how many eggs would go to par, how many par would make it to smolt, how many smolt would make it out to sea. They can do all those equations, and they can tell you how many fish need to be stocked to reach salmon escapement numbers.
Yeah.
That number is in the millions.
Oh, yeah.
Mm,
They need to be putting between, I think it's 16 million fry for just the Southwest alone.
mm,
Yeah.
So the Northwest. So they need to be putting 32 million fry into the river annually to keep
right.
up with numbers based off of a study in the 80s and 90s. So how many fry are we putting in right now? What's the big claim? Does anybody know?
No, no
Yeah.
idea.
A little less than a million.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh
So it's
God.
just
Yeah.
the big picture. That's our stocking on the Miramichi.
So it's
People can,
purely financial, basically.
I don't know. I don't have the answers to that questions.
I, I have a good question to pose
Yeah.
for you. You take all these private clubs on our river systems. Are they donating anything back
Good question.
to the
They should
salmon or
be.
anything?
They should be.
Yeah.
Probably, yeah.
You can
And they,
all open up your fishing book, and in it, it tells us what groups have done what and what groups are giving what money.
Mm,
yeah,
There's a list here, and it shows. So the
yeah.
New Brunswick Trust Fund is basically the ones that look after all of these associations' money, and they apply through grants, and then a committee approves who's getting what money. And there's a list that we're given each year that tells us exactly how much money the New Brunswick Trust Fund was given to all the conservation groups.
oh,
Each group
Mm,
okay.
is listed
Yeah,
there. So
yeah,
like the MSA, they get I don't know how much they get, but they get a bunch of money for the beaver dam removal project. They do it in the
mm-hmm.
yeah,
fall.
Right. Mm-hmm.
So they also the watersheds get projects. Nashwauk is getting quite a bit too. Nashwauk is
Yeah.
very active. Kushibaquack is another one that's
yeah,
really
Yeah.
active.
yeah,
Kennebecasis, Hammond River, again, they're another really active watershed group that are
Yeah.
getting.
yeah.
So those are some of the groups, but you can actually, because it's all publicly funded, that stuff all has to be listed, and it's
Mm-hmm.
actually, some people don't know, but it's listed in the hunting and trapping or the fishing book for New Brunswick.
Ah,
Yep.
good. Yeah.
And if you don't like an association that got money, you can email the Nature Trust Fund because it is all publicly funded and it
Mm.
has to be, it's all taxpayer money.
It
Yeah.
seems like either the government should match more of that. It just people are obviously doing things and people are trying, but I don't think it's quite enough. I don't think
Nope.
it's keeping up with the modern environmental demands on salmon and
Yep.
where it's up to the individual watershed associations to that degree. Some of them are super active and do a ton and post a ton, like the Nashwauk Watershed Association or Hammond, and then some of them don't. And it's up to those individual, groups kind of where it'd be nice for there to be more, federal money in the mix. Because I saw recently, I don't know Petacodiac, I guess it would be. I
Mm-hmm.
saw a video of them releasing some
Port
adult
Polly.
salmon in the Paulet River.
Yep.
And in my mind, what I just can't understand is why we're not releasing more adult salmon that aren't going to be immediately gobbled by striped bass. That's an unscientific, I don't really know the ins and outs of how that all works. It just seems to me like that is a better strategy. But again, I assume it's financially motivated where that's a lot more expensive to do, I would guess.
No, I think it comes down to genetics actually.
Hmm.
So there's three populations of Atlantic salmon. There's the outer Bay of Fundy, the inner
Right.
Yeah.
Bay of Fundy, and then there's whatever the ones they call the Miramichi and the Restigouche or whatever.
Yeah.
Hmm.
No,
The rivers that they're experimenting with those adult programs, I think, is all the outer Bay of Fundy salmon
Okay.
rivers.
Gotcha. Gotcha.
So they're playing basically with rivers that had zero salmon population.
Gotcha.
Now,
Gotcha.
they did have that incentive through a SAS program on the
Hmm.
Miramichi, where they actually were going to release adults on the
Hmm.
Miramichi River, and it was shut down.
Hmm.
And they tried it for 2 years in a row, and it was a big waste of money. And people can look into that because I'm not going down that one. But
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
a huge gong show. That project has been tried, and to the point they had tanks, they had big fish and everything on the Miramichi, and it was all shut down.
Hmm.
yeah.
They did not let them put those fish in the Miramichi River.
I can remember reading an article on Atlantic salmon back in 1985 that a salmon caught, say, in, Doketown or whatever, was worth $500 to the economy back in 1985.
Okay.
And it's just a shame that it's like anything, um, wasn't managed well over the years.
Hmm.
Not just that there, but all our rivers, because I mean, Nova Scotia lost so many rivers, due to acid rain and
Hmm.
God only knows what else. But you had the Mercer River, the LaHaye River, the Economy River, and the Gaspereau River. All Nova Scotia, and there's other rivers too that basically have zero fish now. Salmon.
Right. Yeah, like the Oromocto River
Yeah,
is a perfect example. They used to have runs of 20,000 or something like that, and they're netting the mouth of that river for Gaspro. There's
yeah,
giant, netting operations there that are going to affect it. And then of course water temperatures are going to be affecting that as well. I mean, now it's a bass river. There's barely even any brook trout, let alone salmon in that river. So, you can kind of understand how that shift sort of happens. But that'll be interesting to see, in the future. Is there, as technology evolves, is there going to be some way of keeping the rivers cooler? I mean, obviously keeping the banks uh, full of vegetation, the banks of the river, that seems to help a lot. But, something even more direct, like a method of pumping groundwater, ice cold groundwater into the rivers. Is that going to be possible? Or, I don't know.
I only know like one or two rivers that would be described as cold water rivers. Even in low conditions, the water still is cool.
Hmm.
And I mean, I seen on Facebook the other day there, or recently, that there was a salmon that had a tag on it to show how far it traveled in low
Yeah,
conditions. So they are coming into the rivers. Some can only get so far.
right.
Like you said, we need that big push of rain. I mean, there's only basically, well, you can fish the end of the month in Nova Scotia, and the Bodybarg up in Chatham there, or
Right.
across, you can fish to the end of the month. But
Hmm.
other than that, like, we'll have to see what next year, has for us.
I'm just glad I got out as much as humanly possible in the spring because
Yeah,
I had a great spring, and then once, I don't know, it was like by end of June we basically stopped getting rain. So July, August, September and October were incredibly dry months, which, that's
Next year, I am
yeah.
going to fish every single day for six
Hmm.
weeks straight.
Yeah, yeah, I know what you mean.
I'm putting it in this podcast right now.
Okay.
I vow to fish every single day for 6 weeks straight next spring because I'm just so devoid of fish and having good fishing again. That
you're going to
spring
turn
season
into
is
a
just
fish.
so good.
Yeah. That's a
Uh,
verbal contract, Alex. You just signed a
I
verbal
don't
contract.
I don't care if I only get to fish 6 weeks of the year and it's only those 6 weeks. I'm fine.
Hmm. Well,
Lay me
maybe,
down. I'll tie flies the rest of the
yeah.
year. I'll just fish those 6 weeks.
And I'm starting to change the way I think about things too, where, I did move to this area because I wanted to fish cold water species, but it's almost like it's easier to just try and maybe switch my habits a little bit and fish for warm water species more. Fish in Fredericton, like people like Marlin that are targeting muskie. It doesn't matter if, I mean, I'm sure it does to some extent, but I don't really think the low water has affected his season nearly to the extent that it's affected ours. He's still getting clients on fish, and other people that are guiding for bass and things like that. Maybe the move is just stop complaining about what you can't change and start targeting the warm water species a little bit more. I feel like that's unfortunately going to be kind of like a shift in attitude is kind of what we need, perhaps.
I would agree with that big time.
Yeah, it sucks though. It's sad, and it's antithetical to what type of fishing I like to do. And like I said, I started fishing on the North Branch Oromocto River, and so I feel like I've already caught as many 3 or 4 pound smallmouth bass as I could hope for already. And so I don't know why. I it just doesn't excite me as much catching a big bass as it does to catch a big trout. I wish that wasn't true, but that's just how I'm wired for some reason.
Yep. Yeah, I don't. Oh no, I can feel with you that. I grew up fishing with a spin rod for bass
Uh-huh.
and for pike, and pike
Mm-hmm.
was my favorite thing, and walleye.
Mm-hmm.
And like, there's great opportunities to fish for smallmouth bass and
Mm-hmm.
fish.
Ontario laddie.
Yeah, no Ontario
Ontario?
laddie,
Yeah, yeah.
but
Have
like
you
it's yeah, I don't know. The trout and the salmon. I got out here, and it's just I don't know. There's so many good places to go still.
Oh, for sure.
Salmon maybe not, but the trout,
What
yeah, man,
when
there's
there's
still so
water,
much potential. Yeah,
when
when
there's
there's water.
water.
Yeah,
And that's my whole point is those cold water species, they're so dependent on water, having flow to even cast a fly. Fly fishing, you're especially that's especially important. Grant, have you found you're changing your fishing habits at all in light of how things have been going, or do you still just stick it out and you're only into salmon and or trout?
Well, some of the places in Nova Scotia I went, of course, there is smallmouth bass.
Hmm.
And when the mayfly hatches on, till the
Hmm.
water gets, when it gets close to 50 degrees, then you're more apt to catch the smallmouth bass versus the trout. But what
Hmm.
I found is I was catching bigger, larger trout, but that only means that probably the smallmouth bass are eating the small trout.
Uh,
Yeah, which is a shame because they were introduced to some of these streams and rivers, right?
yeah.
Because one place I go, it's the ocean run, so the sea trout come in, and
Hmm.
some of them stay in, and then of course people introduce them, and they do reproduce very quickly.
They reproduce quickly. They eat everything. They're
Yeah,
incredibly aggressive. I've had
yeah,
friends fishing over top of bass, like standing on or near a bass nest, and the
yeah,
bass was attacking his boot. They're
yeah,
so aggressive. So,
yeah.
and you just, nothing can outcompete that level of aggression in terms of cold water species. So it's really tough. And I mean, obviously, that's a big thing going on with the Miramichi watershed is that somewhere, maybe it was in Miramichi Lake, probably someone introduced a smallmouth bass into the mix, and
Yeah.
now like a buddy of mine says he's catching smallmouth fairly consistently in Doketown.
Oh, yeah.
And so
no
that's
good.
just no, that's the beginning of the end. And then of course, there was the plan to apply the Rotenone to the lake, and that got delayed. And
Yes.
I mean that whole thing was just a disaster.
Do you find as soon as the ice gets out of our like rivers and lakes there, do you find more success for trout as soon as the ice is out?
Yeah, ice out is a good time for sure. And
Yeah.
I fished Long Lake up near Plaster Rock a couple times.
Okay. Yeah, my brother
And
fished that.
yeah, it's a beautiful spot. And, when I first was talking to Clay about when would be a good time to go, it would be, a few weeks after ice out, essentially, was the time to go for trout and brook trout and lake trout on the fly specifically.
Yeah.
Because I mean, they can use downriggers, of course, to get to them later on in the season, but when you're using a fly rod, you don't quite have that option.
No.
No, so I've been finding early, but then, I have spots where I can target them all year round, in the headwaters of certain systems. And that's worked really well for me in the past. This year, not so much because the water was so low. I mostly, even if I could have gone there and maybe caught a couple fish, the water was warm and low. And I just kind of felt like I didn't feel right going in there and bugging the trout too badly at that point.
So do you prefer fishing from a boat or from the shore?
Sure.
Yeah. Yeah, me too. I've never
I'm a
fished for
boat bitch.
I've never
Oh,
Alex, I've never fished for Atlantics in a boat yet.
wow.
Gotta get you out this spring, buddy.
But there's always always a chance.
It sure is easy. I mean, it's so much easier to hook a
Yeah,
salmon in the spring on a boat
yeah,
because you can just, park yourself in the middle of the river and have access to all those great runs that you can
yeah,
barely or not reach from
yeah,
shore.
Or if you're my poor client, I'm going to shove
Yeah.
you in the fastest current possible.
Right, right. Yeah, and
yeah,
and it's a blast trying to fight a salmon in that level of current. Like Dan Quinn took me on his boat a couple seasons ago and we fished, up around Boys Town and I had a great day of it. And nice big sand just being able to go to all the different pools and runs. The boat just gives you so many options. But there's something obviously it's more intimate and special when you're on the shore. I find it's hard to describe. It's more simple. It's a more simple approach, and it's
Could
just
you
yeah,
kind of
imagine though,
yeah.
like
Hmm.
what I kind of tend to notice, and I fish the northwest side more,
Hmm.
like where I fish, I'm at the Upper Oxbow Adventures for people that are just tuning in or whatever. I'm like within 2 kilometers of the mouth of the Little Southwest and right there at the mouth of the Northwest.
Right.
I find fishing down there, if the river looked like that, April all the way through to like September,
Uh-huh.
like the river stayed at that height.
Right.
You imagine the difference it would make for the salmon? Like if things just
Oh God.
like everybody would end up having to travel way further upstream
Mm.
to where it's more narrow, where there's
Right.
more choke points and so on and so forth. More people would be backcountry. But it's one thing that I've always looked at. I love the river, like, and you see it, like you said, fishing from the boat. You see
Hmm.
all the places that you can go. You see how easy it is for us to travel on the river. Imagine if the river was like that height year round, the salmon population, the trout population, like this river would be a
Hmm.
big volume river. We'd have drift
Hmm.
boats running year round, so on and so.
Right.
That's something that I always look at. I don't know. I don't know. There's nothing can be done, but man, I wish the river would stay the same height from April 15th right through to
Hmm.
the end of the year. I wish it was just always that height. The
Like
big
those
mighty Miramichi.
like those West Coast like glacial fed rivers that don't even really pick up until May or June or whatever and then yeah, they're floatable
And
all year long.
maybe this is just because I'm becoming a boat bitch. I don't know.
Ah. Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
To me, it just seems like, man, like when you're out on the river and it's flooded like that, it's just like you just get the feeling like it makes sense that a big Atlantic salmon is here because this is a big river. Like
Mm-hmm.
just seeing some of the pictures from what the river looked like in Doketown in the summer in August, like
Hmm.
I'm looking at that river and be like, this river has this fish in it. Doesn't look like a river that should keep this big a fish in it.
Right, right, right.
Uh,
there's still some roots in the Miramichi
Oh yeah.
systems.
they're
Yeah, oh,
there. They're there.
yeah, absolutely.
There should
Yeah.
be 100,000 returning salmon on the Miramichi, and there's like 5 and 10,000 maybe. There should be a
I'm
100,000.
I mean, when I see posts from people that have lodges on like the lower part of the river, like Country Haven, closer to Blackville and stuff like that, they seem to consistently get fish.
Yep.
I don't know.
There was fish moving around at Coreyville. I said it once or
Hmm.
twice throughout this. It seemed like there was fish moving through. So, yeah,
And there's some, I call them football trout and canes.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
big
yeah.
fish up there.
No, no, actually, I think you meant something else. I think you meant the Baines River. The Canes is trash. No one should ever fish the Canes. It's terrible.
Yeah.
Don't fish the Canes. It sucks.
Yeah, it's just a salmon river.
Yeah,
Yeah,
There's no salmon left,
yeah,
so don't bother.
yeah.
yeah,
Don't ever bother with that.
no.
Uh,
Uh,
so
yeah.
should I
Did you have
wrap up
any
towards
other?
the?
Yeah. I mean, we've gone about an hour ish. If you had any other questions for Grant, go for it, Alex.
Yeah, because I want to basically, Grant. You're our first guest, so you're our guinea pig. Hope you don't mind.
Yeah.
Um, I've got 5 questions that I've like. They're just quick ones. There, I'd like to
Yeah,
ask each guest every time we have them on. I'd always like to ask these 5 questions.
yeah.
There's another podcast out there out of Toronto. They call it like the Quick Five or something like
Oh,
that.
that's cool.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. So this is the Quick Five. It'll happen at the end of every podcast with every
I like that.
guest, and there is no wrong answer, but you will be judged.
Okay.
I'm just kidding, buddy. All right. First answer. First question. What is your favorite fly?
My favorite fly for salmon is the general practitioner.
General practice, GP.
Yeah.
Okay.
And the green, well, second would be the Green Highlander.
Okay.
Oh yeah.
And then, yeah. And then as far as trout, wet fly, Fontellinus fin.
Fontellinus fin.
Fontellinus fin. Yeah.
Okay. How do you spell that?
Fontanlis fin. It's the male brook trout. It's the fin that looks like of the male brook trout.
Okay.
Fontanlinus fin. Yeah.
Cool.
And then
Learning a
of
new
course,
fly word.
dry fly for trout would be Quill Gordon.
Okay.
Yeah. And as far as bugs, I like the Shady Lady.
Hmm.
Hmm.
And of course, you can't go wrong with the Green Machine.
Hmm.
Never.
Uh, I've never had any luck with the Blue Charm, but I do tie it. Thunder and
Really?
Lightning work better for me.
Okay. Hmm.
Yep.
The more you know. All right. Moving on. The next one. What is your favorite fly rod?
Well, I have Sage.
Sage is your brand.
Yeah. Yeah.
Cool. Is it a specific rod or just the brand?
Well, it was a handmade sage rod, Sage 3 blank,
Oh yeah.
that my
Yep.
good friend and Galen Hashi made it, believe it or not, over 35 years ago.
Oh
Yep.
wow,
I
that's
believe it.
Yeah.
cool.
Those older
And then,
Sage blanks are
yeah,
bulletproof. Awesome
it's
rods.
9 weight, 9'6", and then I have an 8 weight, 9 foot that he built for me.
Cool.
Yeah.
Very cool. So that leads us to the next one is what is your favorite fly reel?
Well, I have two of them. For salmon, it's a Fenor anti-reverse.
Hmm.
Okay. Have I seen that one? I think you showed that one to me, didn't you?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Is it
They
gold?
don't. It's gold, yeah,
Yeah,
anodized. Yeah, they don't make it anymore. A company had bought it out of Florida, a Japanese company, but now they don't make that
Hmm.
reel anymore. Yeah,
Cool. See, I
yeah,
love asking these questions because with fly fishing, you just like when I first got into it, it was just the generic stuff. And then
yeah,
when you ask someone like yourself, like I have very specific reels now. It's very cool. I'm learning new reels. I've already learned a new fly.
yeah.
All right. We're at, wait, one, two, three, four. All right. Favorite fly line.
Well,
Be like
they
floating,
don't make.
sinking, or whatever it
Yeah,
is. Yeah.
I like floating. I have a Frodden fly line for an 8/9 for a spey rod.
Hmm.
Um, I have what's it? I just bought a new one down in the Margarita this summer there. I think I think it's Guideline or something like that. Anyways, yeah,
Yep.
they're floating. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
All right. And then the last one is what is your favorite leader length and strength?
Personally, I like to use a longer leader. You know, maybe a foot or so longer than the length of the rod.
Okay.
And I don't usually go any stronger than 8 pound test tippet because you can land an awful big fish on 8 pound.
Yeah,
I
you
mean,
can.
if I was fishing, bigger rivers, then maybe I'd go to maybe a 12 pound, 15, if I ever had the opportunity to fish the Restigouche.
Yep.
Do you do a tapered or a straight eight?
I taper them. Yeah,
Hmm. I
yeah.
like to taper them as well because I like that. I like a big, thick butt section to be able to turn over those bigger flies.
Well, that's what you need because
Yeah,
otherwise your fly doesn't, uh, your loops aren't as good.
yeah.
And then, of course, you got a kink in there. Like, you got to keep your line straight, and
Hmm.
yeah,
See, I'm a true guide. I'll make people happy with this. I'm straight eight and like 12 to 15 feet a leader. Straight
Hmm.
eight.
oh, that's my brother. That's he always used just the 1 pound strength. Yeah,
And it's just honestly, it's not easier to cast like a
Hmm.
tapered leader. It's tapered leaders cast way
Yeah,
better,
of
hands
course.
down. I have just caught so many fish, so many salmon in so many situations. Like I've got all this shit going on. It's like, well, you know what, man, just go back to a rod length and a half, straight eight.
Right.
I run one out. I put a friggin' fly on. Boom! I have
is,
so many situations.
is it Claire or Claire leader material or
No, chameleon.
what? What? It's what?
chameleon 8 pound.
Oh, Maxima. Yeah.
Yep. Maxima
Yeah.
Camellia 8 pound.
Yeah. I sometimes dye that black as well.
Oh,
Oh,
really? That's
the
Yeah.
old
interesting.
if you could
Yeah.
find the older stuff of
Yeah.
that, it actually had a black tinge to it. But
Yeah.
it's not, I find it's not as strong. It must like be like 20 years old by now, so I've
Yeah.
lost a couple fish on it. So
Yeah. Yeah. You could
that's
get
cool though. I didn't
Riffle.
know that you dyed your leaders.
Oh yeah, I've done that before. Yeah, and
That's
actually,
cool.
a good friend of mine, Galen Hashi, of course, the poor soul. He was one of my mentors. Same with Brian Freeman. Yeah, he showed me that years and years and years ago.
Very cool. I did not know
Yeah,
that. I just learned
and
something new.
you can also use that to wrap for ribbing on your flies.
Yes, you would be able to. Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah,
like for like tying a PCAS and stuff like that.
yeah, yeah. Just
Ah,
what you
another
want to
thing.
do. What you want to do is just put a
Ah,
little bit of, like, say you boil a kettle or whatever,
yep.
just soak a little bit so that when you haul on it, it wraps good. You don't get that very big bump.
Yep.
Hmm.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah.
Huh.
That's really cool. That's something new that yeah,
I
I've
know.
learned.
Damn it,
Yeah.
Grant.
It's a fun little
Just
tidbit.
I got yeah, now I know what I'm doing later this week.
And I feel like I'd be more likely to do straight eight if I'd ever had an experience where my tippet and leader connection was what failed, but I've never had that happen to me. I've never had the reason I lose a fish because where I connected the tippet to the tapered leader break off. If that ever happened, maybe I'd change my strategy, but it's never there that I have break off, and I rarely do in general. But if I ever do, it's where the tippet and the fly connect typically, which
So what
makes
type of
sense.
knot do you put your leaders together with?
I honestly can't remember if it's a blood knot or a surgeon's knot.
Yeah.
I use a blood knot. It's
Yeah,
bomb
surgeon
proof.
knot is very quick. Your blood knot's a little bit stronger.
Yeah, I think it's a
Yeah.
blood knot because I don't break. Yeah, it is a blood knot.
It's so
Yeah.
strong. It's
It's a
Yeah.
very strong knot.
Yeah.
even the saltwater guys, like the guys that are big into building these like twisted Bernelli loop leaders and stuff like that,
Hmm.
they're all starting to change. All these guys that are big crazy and the micro tip and all that kind of stuff. There's some new
Yeah.
videos I just watched. They're all switching and just going to blood knot tapered leaders.
Actually,
That
I have.
knot is so strong and it makes the
Yeah.
line like if you watch that knot in the water, you can't.
Hmm.
It's so hard to spot that knot. Like it's
Yeah.
just
Hmm.
blood knot all the way for tapered
Yeah,
leaders.
blood knot's
Yeah.
nice. Actually, Grant, that makes me want to ask you a question. What are your thoughts on perfection loops? Do you use it? Do you like it? Did you kind of see that become more popular?
Well, I was introduced to loop years
Hmm.
ago. You
Hmm.
know, it makes it easy to change. The only thing is, after a while, though, like if you have a loop on your fly line, that could end up weakening it. Then you'd have to basically weld a new loop or whip finish the loop, right? If that's
Yeah,
what
well,
you.
I nail knot on a thick piece of mono and
Yeah,
then turn the mono into my perfection loop to then
right.
connect things to that. So I
Yeah,
don't ever do my loop directly with the fly line. I don't know if that's what you meant, but
yeah, yeah.
so do you like loop to loop or do you kind of not do it?
I still use loop to loop. I don't
Okay.
mind it.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Because there's a lot of old school, people that have been fishing for a while that sort of scoff at or don't love the loop to loop system.
Yeah. I actually, when I first started salmon fishing, I used a reverse nail knot with sort of like a bungee cord first, shock
Hmm.
absorber. Beartooth made
Oh,
it. And the company's still available in the States, but now they don't have just like the bungee cord. It's all incorporated into a leader automatically from, the butt section to the tippet.
I've never heard of that. That's
Yeah.
interesting.
Yeah.
Have you ever heard of that, Alex? You have a puzzled look on your face, so I'm guessing not.
No,
That's
I have
cool.
to look at
That's
that.
that's another cool tidbit we got from you.
Yeah.
Because
I
I
still
just make
have,
my own loops is what I do. Like on
Hmm.
the
yes.
leader itself. There's a
Yeah.
couple ways. Like I just watched a video though with the heat shrink wrap.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
But That's actually how they make it at
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
factory. Did you see that
Yeah.
same video where the guy put the heat
I
shrink
haven't.
wrap over it? So basically, he just takes this fly line, end of the floating line, cuts a little
At an
45
angle.
degree. Yep.
Yeah.
Take
Yeah.
it and he wraps it over, but then he takes the heat shrink, puts it over it,
Yeah.
like leaves the loop, but he melts the heat shrink, and then as he's
Yeah.
doing, he rolls it onto the table.
Yeah.
Heat shrink, rolls it on the table, and he does that process for like 15 minutes or whatever. He gets the heat shrink to shrink up, but then he cuts the heat shrink off,
Yeah.
and then the inside of the line has welded itself together. And that's actually how they do it. It's the same. It's a factory. It's a factory
Ah.
loop, is what it's called.
Yeah.
There's a influencer there on social media that does it. I just watched that video, so I'm
Okay.
gonna try it that way. But I've used the heat shrink wrap, and I've just taken thread. Is the old school way of doing it. You just take
Right.
your line, bring it over, and just put it in your vise, pinch it in your vise, and just take your thread and your bobbin, come over it, put a little bit of glue on it, and that will hold up perfectly. Like I can get an entire full spring season out of one of those loops, no problem.
I used to make my own braided loop too,
Yep.
Oh yeah.
and
Yep.
use Pila Blonde on it. It doesn't go right hard. It's still soft a bit.
Yep.
Ah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yep. Now you could get away with just using solar as makes a flex seal.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
It's a
Yeah.
flexible version, so you get away with that.
Yeah.
Work great on it. Yeah,
Yeah.
there's all kinds of options now too. Yeah.
Oh, that's
good.
cool. Nice. Well, I appreciate the little extra tidbits and the tips and your time, Grant. This was a fun chat, and I feel like I learned a lot.
Yeah.
Really appreciate you showing up.
Well, thank you very much for inviting me.
Absolutely.
Happy
was-
tying.
Yes, indeed. Happy tying, happy fishing.
Yeah.
We can't quite say happy fishing yet because, we got to wait those. We're all in fish jail together for the
Not
next
the
6
end of the month.
months.
Not the
Yeah,
end of the
that's
month
true.
yet,
That's
Caesar.
true. That's true.
I might get out once more.
Yeah.
In Nova Scotia.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Well, wish you tight lines then.
Thank you.
Awesome.
Awesome.
Well, thanks again, Grant.
Thanks
Yep.
very much, buddy.
All right.
Talk to you
Cheers.
later, Alan.
Bye.
Bye-bye.